Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We wanted to do a quick audio test if we've had some audio challenges. So throw something in the chat if you can hear both myself and Andre real quick. Okay, can't hear. Well, wonderful.
Uh, yeah,
Can you hear at least Andre?
no. Can you hear me?
So one more quick
Mm,
test. Okay, thank you,
okay, yeah,
Ethan.
yeah, well,
Thanks everyone for joining us. It is late at night, so our European friends will enjoy this time. Thanks for trolling, Seth. So appreciate that. It's always great to have a troll in the chat. But yeah, so wanted to introduce myself, Duncan Davis. So we are from Happy Cauldron Games, and we work on Fractured Online. And then Andre, do you want to introduce yourself?
yeah, I mean, maybe some of you already know me or remember me. I think you saw me in the very early Kickstarter days in a video. And yeah, I'm Andrea. I'm the lead designer of Fracture Online, founder of, Dynamite Studios back then. And yeah, I'm happy to be here with Duncan. We are, we are super excited inside Dynamite of this new possibility with Epic Ultron Games, and we are having a fantastic time so far. So yeah, we are very much looking forward to future possibilities and what Fracture has to offering. So yeah.
Yeah, and today, as I'd mentioned in the previous stream, we were going to start deep diving into one of the most core redesigns for Fracture Online. And that's something that, day night, Andre and I have been spending a lot of time on. And so, yeah, we're going to start going through that right away. So, questions in the chat, we will be paying attention to that and answering those. But yeah, we can hop right into it.
You're still breaking up a little bit for me, Duncan, with
Oh,
the
no.
audio. I don't know if the chat can hear you well. If you can let us know.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise I'll do most of the presentation anyway. So
Okay.
okay, so maybe it's just
Awesome.
okay. Okay, so it's just an issue between us two. So all right, let me just pull up the stream here, which is okay. This is better. Okay, awesome. Okay, so yeah, we want to talk to you about the core redesign of the character progression. And here are the pillars or the goals that that we want to achieve with this new system. And we want to start with giving new character a natural identity, and with this I mean an identity more gameplay related. So, are you a mage? Are you a fighter? Are you? And this is, this sounds like classes, and the way we are using class names is mostly to let you easily understand a specific role, but we have our own specific take. We are very different in our opinion to a class-based system, and of course we'll go more into detail into that. But yeah, we want this kind of character identity, and we think it's very important for an MMO experience in general. And we want to give more meaning to making new characters and thinking of new characters and new templates than what we have right now. And with that, we also want a visual fidelity of what your character will look like. That's very important. So this will mean more pieces of armor, equipment, weapons, and anything which is going to be giving you many options, and it will show, and it will be an easy way for you to show off what you are, and for other players to understand who they will be dealing with. So that's another very important pillar. And all of that, of course, we want to give you diverse archetypes. And with archetypes, we mean basically your template, your build, your the uh, every building block that you will use during your character progression and your character building, which is going to be more or less permanent and will make a difference from you and other characters. We want you to be able to build this thing, and we want to give you as many options and possibilities and templates to discover as possible during your experience with Fractured Online. And within each archetype, we also want to give you many optionalities, which is going to be what we now have in Fractured Online. So it's that ability to change your build day by day. I mean, this was more true in the original version. Now it's a little bit more difficult in the current version, but we want to bring that back. So you will have a specific archetype, but within that archetype, you will have many options to try different things and have fun. And maybe have different sub builds for different things that you will need to do, different point of interest, so different activities. So yeah, that's the general goals, and we can go more into details on everything basically. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. And yeah, what is an archetype? I think we already pretty much covered that. It's a combination of skill trees, and that you will be able to choose during character progression. So in game, it's not something that you do during character creation, or well, you do a little bit there, but it's mostly something that you do in game. And yeah, you can see it as yeah, a combination of skill trees. And this is an archetype is mostly what your permanent progression is. Each skill tree will grant you many different things. You will have permanent nodes, passive bonuses, and something that you can choose. And this is the optionality element that you want to keep. You will have interchangeable passive abilities. Something that any RPG or most RPGs and MMO has or identifies a passive ability. You will have those that you will be able to pick, and many active abilities too. And again, you will be able to choose the ones you want in a system like you will have probably something similar to our current resting system, just to pick different abilities. I'm not saying that you are going to have a resting system, but your ability to change the your current setup basically. Yeah, you can continue. And yeah, what are these skill trees? Or well, we have different types of skill trees. We can have racial skill trees, which will be determined during character creation. Well, mostly depending on which race you choose, they will be fixed. And we have skill trees that we call class skills, because again, these are we use we will be using RPG classes just because it makes sense. It's something that people understand, and this will give you access to well, more than access. It will define the core of your character, and you will be able to pick up to 2 different ones, or just one skill tree to have a pure class setup. And you will also have the specialization. We will go more into details later. We have specialization skills, which are skill trees that kind of they are kind of childs of class skills, and they go into a more specialized option for that specific class. And then we have weapon proficiency skill trees, which, as you can guess, will allow you to do better with a specific set of weapons. And yeah, let's go and check them a little bit more into details, starting from the racial skills. This is still very high-level design, and I mean all of this is still a very high-level design, and things can change. This is what we're showing you today is something that we are pretty confident that will be very close to what you will be able to see at release. But yeah, things can change. Just keep that in mind. The idea for racial skill is to have some kind of elements that allow you to interact with primal energy. We want to have primal energy probably as a secondary resource, something like gold, and we want to include make it a fundamental part of the game, which is part of the lore in theory, and that's also what we are trying to do with this revamp. We really want to bring back and have a better lore and more immersion in the fractured online world. And different races will interact with primal energy in different ways. So, for instance, you have humans that have a way of exploiting it and making maybe artificial things and stuff like that with technology. We can see what we can do with that or not, but that's the lore connected to humans. We have beastmen, which in theory, they are the preservers of the primal energy. They can use it. They are in a very close contact and relationship with it. They will, their primal form, their primal transformation also depend on it and stuff like that, but they want to preserve it. They are like, I would guess they could be like druids or something like that, guardians of the primal energy. And demons instead are, they just want to get all of it for themselves and corrupt it or, do bad things as demons usually. And we want to, to try and have this lore feeling as part of some core mechanic of interaction with the primal energy. And then let's go, a little bit faster with everything else, because when I start talking, I can go on forever. But we will have, of course, unique race features. Again, you can still expect transformations from beastmen and other unique traits or abilities from demons, or there are many possibilities there. And I have this point that I added: favor long cooldown abilities. I mean, this is not a must. Let's say that this is something that I would like to try and follow. We will still have, the basic class and specialization. You will already have the core skills and abilities for, the core gameplay balance there. I don't just want to add extra new abilities and button to press and stuff like that. The idea is, if we have abilities here, they are going to be something with long cooldown, something that you use sparingly, and that's basically the idea. We may not just have combat-related perks, abilities, skills, whatever. So we can have something that deals with crafting, with gathering, something, some variations for different races and with the world interactions. And there is going to be a slight difference between humans and others, because everyone, other than humans, will start with 2 racial skills. One each is going to be the one focused on primal energy interaction, and the other one is something unique for that specific race. Again, for beastmen could be the transformation. For a blood demon could be something related to blood magic. I don't know. I'm just saying random things now, but to give you the idea. And human instead will only have the primal energy interaction skill tree. And they will start during character creation to pick one of the other more, not generic, the default skill trees, the ones that will be available during gameplay to anyone. And they will start with a class skill tree specifically.
And Andre, this is more to, humans are typically that jack of all trade versus the more specific racial bonuses that others may have, right? Is that your goal for the races?
Again, you broke up a little bit for me. I think you asked me about, the difference between the twos, and the humans are more of a jack of all trades, and they have the ability to have a more customized build. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, that's exactly the goal. Of course, again, this is not final. If we find that we might have something unique to give humans instead, a special skill tree for them too, we can go there. But right now, I think this is, yeah, I think this is the best choice. I'm very happy with that, and keeping that, feeling that is something that you always have, the jack of trade for humans. And then we'll end up with one extra skill tree to choose from, but the overall number of skill trees will be the same. It's just that they have one more that they can pick. Class skills. Yeah, class skills, as I already told you, we are going to use canonical RPG classes, and this is mostly for communication. This is something that you choose either in character creation or very early on in game. And going with some random names for skill trees and stuff like that, it just creates confusion for new players. So there is no need for that. We are going with D&D-like names. I mean, if I say D&D-like, it really works for every kind of game. That's something that you see everywhere. You have fighters, mages, priests, and stuff like that. So it's something that you understand. It's a role that you know what it means. These skill trees will often be a requirement for other skill trees and possibly for other featuring games. I stay generic here. It could be, equipment. It could be weapons. It could be anything. Generally speaking, I want to try and avoid restrictions as much as possible to still give you as many options as possible. And we will all try to have requirement restriction where strictly needed. And otherwise, I'm more than happy to let you do whatever you want and find any possible emergent gameplay, fun build or stuff like that, and go crazy with it. These skills needs to be generic and flexible because they are the core of your character. They need to allow for multiclassing, so they don't only go in a very specific direction, a very specific mechanic. They still need to give you lots of options. So each skill tree maybe will give you DPS options, more tank options, support options, whatever you can fit will be there. So you can use it the best way you can find, basically. And the last point is adept versus mastery, which basically each skill tree will be available in two ways. You will have an adept node, which is the base one, and a master node, which is the one you would pick if you go pure class. If you go hybrid, you will pick two adept class trees. This is the general idea. Again, we need to go much more into details when designing these things, but that's a general idea. Specialization skills. These are going to be restricted by the class you choose. So, for instance, if you go mage, you can have pyromancy, cryomancy, and things like that. If you go warrior, you can have warfare, leadership, what you can expect. And these are going to be less generic, of course, than classes and much more thematic. They will focus on a specific mechanic. And with this, I mean, is this specialization something for DPS builds? Is it going to focus on defense for a tank build or on, I don't know, support element? Maybe it's good for a party or stuff like that. So they will have a specific team and mechanic in mind. They need their own identity. We don't want a bunch of different specialization that all do everything. We want, generally speaking, on a design perspective, if we decide to make a new specialization, it needs to have something meaningful in it and something that makes it different from other choices. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense to make it. And I mean, this is the general direction we are taking also. It's something different from what we did before. We want to, I guess it's part of the quality over quantity mindset that we are trying to follow for this relaunch. And and of course they are less generic, more focused and everything else, but we still need to provide optionalities. So you won't have just 2 abilities in there. You will have we are estimating 4 to 10 abilities for each skill tree. Of course, you won't be able to use all of them at the same time, but that's part of the game, of the gameplay, and your optionalities and your ability to change things out and try out different builds also within the same archetype. And finally, we have the weapon proficiencies. Not much to say about those. They are very similar in theme to the specialization skills. They also will focus on a specific mechanics. So, for instance, maces will probably focus on crowd control, whereas blades will probably focus on DPS or bleeding effects or stuff like that. So, again, it's not just a matter of choosing a different mesh or it's not just a visual difference, but it's a gameplay style. And the main difference between weapon and specializations is probably due to how weapon abilities will work and how we will handle those. Because those abilities, this is just for weapons. Weapon abilities will be tied to the weapon we have equipped. So right now, we are thinking of going with 3 abilities for each weapon. We will also have weapon tiers, so not every tier will have 3 abilities, but let's say that the mid to high level range tiers will have 3 weapon abilities. And by switching weapons, you will automatically switch the abilities that you have. So this is another issue that we had before. We allowed you to have multiple weapons and to switch between them, but then you were stuck with the abilities that you chose for your template. So it didn't really make much sense to switch abilities. With this setup, you can have a sword and a bow, and when you switch to the bow, you have the bow abilities or whatever. You can also switch between 2 different swords and have 2 different sets of ability that belong to the 2 different swords. And this means that we will probably not have active abilities inside this tree. They will be mostly passive abilities and things that will augment your weapon abilities, maybe things that will unlock and allow you to use those extra, so the second and the third abilities on weapons. We still need to define that, but that's the general idea. Other than that, it's very similar to how specialization skills work. And these will be specific for a specific class of weapons. So we will have maces, longsword, great swords, stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that you only have 1 item type, 1 weapon, 1 specific weapon for each proficiency. You will have multiple longsword, multiple bows, multiple whatever, and we can really go crazy with that. We can make many different item types, unique abilities on different weapons. So you will have a lot of choices there too. And
real quick, there's a question. I'm going to send it to you, Andre, in chat, just in case we're having voice issues.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But a player wants to know if certain races will have specializations, such as deer people being the best casters in the current version.
This is something that, unique things will be part of the racial abilities, the racial skill trees. That said, I would like to avoid going too specific with bonuses on a specific trait. Maybe we can have it as part of flavor. What I want to avoid is to force players that want to be mages to go and pick a deer. So it shouldn't be something forced, basically. I still want you to be able to have a mage human, mage whatever, and same for every other class. So we will try to give more variety, but try and stay lighter on specific buffs tied to a specific role or archetype. That's the general idea. Yeah, so it's you can see those more as another skill tree with something unique. Of course, Beastmen again, transformations, and we can make them much more fun and much more interesting than what they are now. They will give you maybe unique abilities. I mean, this is still something that's not that we didn't even talk about yet in details. We just said a few things, but yeah, that's the general idea. We want you to be able to do whatever role or archetype you want with each character type and still be viable with each race. I mean, yeah, that's the goal.
And then one more question, and I'll go ahead and grab this one. But Dagger Person, have you decided on the size of the ability bar at 8 skills ? We're still working on the new input system and control system. That's one of the first things.
No, can you paste it? Yeah. You're still breaking up for me.
I'm breaking up for you. I don't think I'm breaking up for the stream. But we are still working on that input system and control system, since it is changing from the click to the like WASD style, WASD style. But that is one of the first aspects of public testing where we want to get feedback on. So we don't have the definite decision on the number of active like skills that you can use at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I heard just a portion of what you said, but I think I got the gist of it. So, okay. How do you choose your skills? Now, again, as you can see, they are example progression path. These can change. This is just the generic idea. We don't know if this will be the maximum amount of skill trees that you will have. It's something that in our mind works so far. It seems solid to us, but again, it can change. As you can see, you have 2 options. Well, 2 ways of progression. One is for humans and one is for other races. Is what I already told you before. The difference in character creation. Other races have 2 force trees, and humans can pick their first class. And basically, every pick choice in game is delayed by 1 step for any other race. In the end, humans will pick 1 extra weapon proficiency or class specialization as their 5th pick. But overall, both humans and other races will end up with the same exact amount of skill trees. And yeah, let's look at humans just for the progression, and it's going to be the same for other classes. You have this primal energy. Oh no, hold on a second. Yeah, go back to the previous slide. You have the primal energy skill, then you have your first class pick. Then we will probably let you pick your weapon proficiency first, because you will always have weapon, and this is going to be, even in the new input system, having those 3 weapon abilities is going to be very important. And then a class specialization. Then you can get your second class, which can be multi-classing with another adept. I guess, yeah, we kept the training name here. This will be the adept version, or the mastery version if you want to go pure class. And then you are free to choose for the 3rd and the 5th pick either another proficiency or another class specialization. So that's the general idea. And yeah, you can go on. And this, again, as you can see, that proof of concept, everything can change. Plant skills. This is to give you a general idea of what we want for the core of the game, which is going to be the release. And I prefer to split it into bits. Core MVP, so minimum value product. This is something that we want at all costs for the release. And core plus, which is basically elements that I still think they should be part of the core of the design to have a working set and options and things like that. But it's something that we can also release on a separate update as a very quick expansion after the first release. And for the core, we have the fighter, the mage, and the priest class. Each class will have, again, the adept and the mastery version. No need to go more into details on that. And for each one of those, you can see the specializations that I planned so far. And one important thing to note is that this system is very modular, and we will always be able to add new skill trees with the expansions and things like that. And this is the powerful element of this new system, and it's something that goes and fixes issues that we have with the previous one, where you were able to just pick any kind of abilities from anywhere. And what we ended up doing, and this was a mistake from our side, was adding abilities more or less randomly. I mean, we tried to fix that in the end, and adding more, trying to finish a school set of abilities before moving to the next one. But yeah, as you well know, there were schools, that's how they were called before, that were pretty complete, had a lot of abilities, and some that didn't, and just had a few abilities. Maybe they also had some useful ability that you ended up using in many builds. But yeah, what we want to do here is every time we release a skill tree, the skill tree is going to be complete and is going to have what you expect from a class-based game, I guess, or a game with specific skills. The skill is going to be complete, and there's going to be to give you all the option that you need to play, and then we can move on and develop other skills if you want. The priest, I think, is going to be pretty interesting. Is going to be the one probably more tied to lore. You will be able to be a priest of a specific god: Tyros, Babilis, Galvanus, Iridian, Helena, and you will have drastic changes on, more or less drastic changes. There will be for sure something unique tied to this, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So the way you can expect things to work, the relationship between class and specializations, abilities coming from class will be a little bit more generic. Like if you have a mage, you will have maybe a basic magical beam. And yes, we are bringing beam backs, the ones that you saw in the very early Kickstarter videos, and you always wanted when we never made it. We will make those. And the pyromancer will have a fire version of that, which is not just going to be doing different kind of damage, but will also have unique mechanics that make sense for the pyromancy specialization. And similarly for the priest, you can have maybe a bless ability, which is something base, and a bless from Galvanus will add bonuses that are relevant to mages. And Iridia, maybe since she's the god of balance and stuff like that, it's a natural goddess, it will give you the ability to cast your bless both on allies and enemies, and have positive and negative effects on one or the other. And maybe Babilis, which is you're going to become a necromancer basically if you pick Babilis. Maybe she won't give you an actual way to bless allies, but just to curse enemies. And maybe that curse ability, you will also be able to cast it on your minions, on your skeletons, or whatever undeads, and you will buff them with that ability. Just to give you, a general idea of how we want to approach the design of abilities and things going forward. With the core class, we would add the rogue and ranger. Rogue also has a bit of magic inside of it, with the illusionism, shadow dancing, which lets you hide around, and maybe, again, a little bit of touch of magic in there. And the ranger class is a mix of what you usually relate to a ranger, and also something druidic, so very a good connection to nature and stuff like that. And you will be able to hybridize with things, and you do whatever you want. There's going to be, I mean, a lot of possible builds, archetypes, and you're going to have a lot of fun. I'm just seeing Geomancer removed. We will see. We will be able to add things later on, but we picked those ones because we will probably change slightly the damage types, and we are going to go with something more schematic. I mean, we'll go more into details with that, but the generic idea now is that magic damage will probably split between fire, ice, and shock. So this is why we added these 3 specialization for the mage. But it doesn't mean that we won't add other specialization in the future too. And if we have something like Geomancer, it will just deal physical damage, which is something, I mean, is what it does already right now. So again, this is what we see as a necessity for the core of the game. Once we are done with that, we will expand and add, again, it's a modular design. That's the important part. We will always be able to add new things with expansions and refresh the gameplay, add new possibilities and stuff like that. Yeah, for weapon proficiencies, as you can see there, weapon proficiency availability will be determined by the chosen class skill. Not every class will be able to pick every weapon proficiency. I mean, if you are a fighter, you will most likely be able to pick most of them, maybe except for the staffs, how do you call it? The plural. But if you're a mage, maybe you will be restricted to something like dagger, longsword, and mage stuff. And if you're a priest, maybe mace. I don't remember what I picked for the priest stuff and something else. So if you, this doesn't mean that you cannot be a mage using a war armor or an heavy armor. We want, I mean, we will need to balance the size, stuff like that. But right now, I would like to allow you to do that. If you go hybrid, mage fighter, you can do that. For weapons, we always had issues with the weapons and casting abilities and stuff like that because you need the custom animation for your specific weapon and stuff like that. But since this is one other reason why we are basically tying weapon abilities to weapons, because we can have, I mean, it's easier to do specific animation for a specific weapon. You don't have to make, every time you add an ability, you have to go back to every weapon type and be sure that it has an animation for that specific ability. And this is going to be, I mean, it is going to be easier on our side, but what you will see with this is much better animations and much smoother and fun gameplay when you use your weapon abilities. So that's the important bit. And yeah, you can see again, you can read those out. You can see what you expect to have for the core MVP and this core plus expansion, basically, both in terms of abilities and weapon proficiencies. And yeah, I think we can continue. And unless there is some other question that's relevant.
There
right
are
now.
questions. We'll actually go back here real quick, and I'll grab a couple questions and throw them.
Yeah, just write those down. If I pick priest rogue, that's one from the core and that's one from the core plus section. Do you have access to all weapon proficiencies then? Yeah, no, it's not really clear in this slide. It was just way too much data to write down here. But these weapons, it is not that you see, mace, dagger, longsword. The first section is not weapons that are allowed for fighter, mage, and priest. These are just the ones that we will include in the core MVP, and the one under core plus are the ones that we will include in the core plus release. And proficiency availability is going to depend on the class. So the mage will have dagger, longsword, mage staff. It's something that you don't see on those slides. A rogue will have probably dagger, rapier, scimitar, short bow, something like that. So we can give you that table that details these things more specifically as we finalize the design. So yeah, this created a little bit of confusion, I guess. Also, magic had a few elements: ice, fire, thunder, arrow, and magic damage type. Will magic damage still be a damage type, or will it be removed as well? It's still going to be there, but the way we will use it is, yeah, I probably should have included just the table with the damage types, but I'll give you just a run through. We will have physical, magical, and spiritual damage types as a big damage categories, and then each category has subtypes. So the physical has slashing, piercing, and crushing. The magical has fire, ice, and shock, and the spiritual has will have what were those? I think light, something like that has to do with light, darkness, and psychic. We still need to, decide the final names, but the idea is to have something that's going to be useful for priests or for rogues. Light and darkness is something like holy, unholy. We will need to decide the final names, and the psychic, because there are many things that could relate to that, from illusionism from the rogue, leadership for the fighter. We are also planning for other two classes that we didn't include here, because this is something that will come in the future, and they are probably going to come together with races, which are monk and barbarian. Barbarian will probably have shouts and stuff like that, which could also be psychic damage. So, to give you an idea. And you will still have both the generic damage type. Some abilities will just do magic damage, and some abilities will do a specific type of damage, so fire damage or ice damage or stuff like that. And yeah, this is the core. It's a more balanced damage types setup. You have basically 3 main, and each main has 3 specific, and they cover pretty much everything that we will need, thematically. So, can we continue?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, before finishing today's talk, we want to add a few informations about equipment. This is, again, very high-level design. So we are going to give you a very high-level overview of what we have in mind for equipment, even more high-level than what we told you right now for everything else. So, keep that in mind. But yeah, generally speaking, we want a tiering system, which is going to be it's different from what we now refer to as tiers. We will have probably something like 6 different tiers of equipment and weapon types. Of course, we still need to decide on that number, and we will have several. I guess we will start with, I think it's fair to say that we will have 4 main resource type. This is nothing original, it's something that you can expect. It's going to be wood, or leather, and fibers for a cloth. It's pretty standard, but it's something. It is what what works basically. And this will be tiered, and you will have a whole crafting system that will allow you to refine resources and craft equipment of different tiers. We will most likely remove the time requirement for refining resources. This is still not 100%, decided, but me and Duncan are both pretty aligned on removing those. So we'll see. And And yeah, so you will have a much better progression with armor. Also, I mean, you will still have the optionalities that I told you about before, but progression is important. We will have 3 major armor groups: clothing, light armor, and heavy armor. And these groups are important because more or less your resistances, so your damage reduction and stuff like that, within the same group will be, again, more or less the same. So every clothing will have a specific range of armor rating, light armor another range, and heavy armor another range. So these we want to yeah, the way I can say this, we want to have complexity in the game. When we talk about having you think and theorize, theory crafting about possible combination archetypes and stuff like that, is something that I always enjoyed when playing MMOs. Spending time outside of the game, of when thinking about possible templates and stuff like that, I think it's something. I mean, it's something that I really enjoyed a lot every time, and also creating a new character is and. But when you play the game, we want rules to be as simple and as understandable as possible. So yeah, this is kind of the goal, also design-wise or for player experience. See it as you want, basically. Then we have, again, archetype, visual fidelity, and optionality. Yeah, this is something that I already mentioned. We want visual fidelity for the archetype you choose for whatever your character is going to be. So we will have many more armor types. So if we have, for instance, now we have scholar clothes, you will also have pyromancer clothes and cryomancer clothes. And these things, you need to see them as a variation, something that you can choose or not choose. Is not just an upgrade. We don't want to. I mean, if we, in my mind, if we release a pyromancer cloth, and if you take pyromancy, that's the only viable armor you have to choose. You must choose. In my eyes, we failed with design. So this is not what we want. We want to give you options, and you will be able to choose different options. And you will have clothing options for mages, light armor options for mages, and heavy armor options for hybrid mages, for instance. And yeah, this works for every class. Same reasoning for everything. And the specialized versions, again, options, not just an upgrade and a must for a specific archetype you choose. Visual information, and oh yeah, this was about customization of the look of your armor, and we will need to find a sweet spot between visual information and visual customization. And with this I mean, if we have armor tiers, we want something in the model. So this is going to be part of the art direction of the game, but we want something that is going to be a common denominator, I guess, that lets you understand the power of the player that you have in front of you. So different armor types of the same tier should have something that identify that tier, which, to give you a very easy example, which maybe is going to be what we will choose, it could be some kind of color coding. This is the easiest way to do it. But at the same time, we also want to allow you to have some visual customization. And this is part of, again, a very easy example would be a recoloring system, which is going to be something different from what we have now. You could have maybe some mesh variations. I don't know. We need to evaluate what we can do with the resources we have at our disposal. But we value both things. I think they are both very important. Of course, already, since we are giving you many more armor types, you will already have a way to customize your player better than you did before. But recoloring system, dice, or some other kind of, you know, visual variation that you can choose. I mean, it's an MMO. It's a social game. We still value that that element of the game, and we would like to try and add it to the game. Yeah, full set abilities, more and better. Yeah. So the main difference between different armor types is probably still going to be the what now are called full set abilities. Maybe they will call something different, but they will still give you specific passive bonuses of some kind, something that combos with your abilities, something that increases your power in a specific way or another. So that's going to be the main difference between choosing mage clothes versus a battle mage armor, or you know, all the different options that you have. And generally speaking, armors will start from a specific tier to give you full set abilities. I don't think that low tier armors will have full set abilities. Maybe they will, and just be something, you know, less strong, less relevant. We can see. But let's say that from a specific tier, they will start to have the real ones, the ones that will be important from, you know, your mid to late game, and all of those will have the same power level. They will just give you something different. So again, let's go back to the scholar clothes example. If you have scholar clothes, they will give you a specific full set ability, which we will need to decide what it is. I cannot give you that now. And pyromancer clothes, which can be seen as an upgrade to the scholar clothes, will not be an upgrade. There will be a variation of that. So they will give you probably a different ability set, which will be on the same power level of the scholar clothes. So if you have an hybrid build, you can still use the scholar clothes if you think that the full set ability of the scholar clothes fits best with your current build inside of your archetype. So this is the general idea of that too. And yeah, I think we are almost done. Oh, there is another question that you sent me. How do you go to get higher tier? Do we have an experience system now? Is this also okay? Okay. Is this also a case with skills? So yeah, this is actually an important bit that I forgot to mention. And as you can see, every skill that's combat related, I think we can classify them as such, are part of this archetype system. So you make your character, it has its own archetype, you have your build, possible skills and stuff like that. This is, in my opinion, this has always been the fun part of creating a new character. Crafting skills, they have different requirements. They are a totally different thing. And what we would like to experiment for this new release is to have them as account-based progression. So again, we still need to detail the whole system, but the general idea would be this will be similar to what you can expect, to what you see in in most games, in most MMOs or RPGs or whatever, where you have a skills like tailoring, blacksmithing, or whatever crafting related that goes up and up and up the more you craft, or the more you gather, or the more you do whatever you do. So it's gonna be grindy. It's a necessity in our opinion. But what we want to do is to make them account bound. So once you do them, you can use them on every character. I think that nowadays most people don't like the idea of making a character specialized for crafting, and then you need to swap to that character every time you need to craft something and stuff like that. So making them account available, I think this will be an improvement, and it's just something for the player experience. It's a little bit more meta, of course. It's less realistic, but yeah, I don't see the need to change the character just to craft something. If you also, in my experience, every time I made a new character and I needed to craft something, it was just a chore. It was just something, an inconvenience. So that's the general idea. But they will probably be grindy and take time to raise, because that's a necessity for the market. If you want a balanced economy and you want to reward players that raise their crafting skills, there needs to be some time investment in what they did. And I think this is just it is just a necessity, and it's the best option for everyone. But again, we will go into details, and if we can make the process more fun, we will try to make it as fun as possible. But yeah, this is the general direction. I can see, will each piece add leg, head, feet, body give a bonus? But if you use full set of the same type or suit, will it give a bigger bonus? That would allow custom builds or stronger focus for those ones. So no, I mean, we are evaluating the final amount of slots that we will have in game. We thought about reducing them, but I think we will probably still keep all of them, mostly because of imbuing. Maybe we can, I mean, I know that imbuing is one of the features that you people liked most in game. We want to keep that, and I think there is space for improving it and making it more interesting, but the core is still going to be the same, and having different pieces will allow us to better balance bonuses. So you will have you won't be able to place every type of bonus on every piece of equipment. So maybe you can place, I don't know, just to say random things, you can have attribute bonuses on your headgear and resistance bonuses on your main piece, whatever. It allows for better both balance and gameplay, and and things like that. But when we talk about full set abilities, no, they will be still active when you have a full set. What we might decide is if the main piece is still going to be the most relevant piece, we may decide to have that abilities on only on the main piece, so you won't be required to have the entire set. But the thing is, even on a visual perspective, armors are made to, I mean, they look good if you have a full set active at the same time. Mix matching bits of different armors, it doesn't really look nice most of the times. So that's why when we also introduced full set abilities back then, that's why we decided to have them as a full set bonus. So to kind of force players to use an entire set of armor. That said, we have plans for hats and as a cosmetic option. I think that, I mean, we want to keep the readability of gameplay. So we want you to be able to understand what other people's are, specifically for, for the competitive scene, PvP and stuff like that. But we could change the headgear, so you can be able to show or hide your headpiece, or maybe change it with a cosmetic option. I think that's totally fine and fair, also for gameplay. So you can have your top hat or your crazy rabbit on your head or whatever. We can decide to add with customization. That's the idea. I think, Duncan, I think you agree with that too. I think we talked a little bit about that. Okay, is there some other question that's relevant now, or otherwise we can move on?
I think we're good to move on. There's a few, and I'll save them till the end.
Okay. Oh yeah, there was just another slide about equipment I made. These just a few examples of what you may expect. This is by far the entirety of the armors that you will have available in game. But again, just to give you an idea, this is not covering the low tier ones. We will probably have, right clothes as a tier 1, tier 0, whatever, and maybe a primitive cloth, primitive armor, which could be the hide armor and stuff like that. But let's say that from a specific tier, you will enter the, the real armors, and these are those ones. So you have scholar clothes, which is one of those armors, and some specialized version of the scholar clothes could be the pyromancer, cryomancer, and Galvanos wizard clothes. If you go full priest of Galvanos, you may have access to this. Acolyte clothes, you have the Tyros acolyte, the Babilis acolyte, whatever. Thief clothes, you have assassin, shadow dancer, trickster, or Iridia prophet. Again, for the hybrid version of the priest thief. For light armor examples, I picked warrior and scout armor. Warrior armor has different variation. You have something for a marksman, something for a dueling, so it's melee agile type of build versus a melee more heavy based build, or a Babilis necromancer, which could be based on a warrior armor. For a scout armor, we can have knave armor, something specialized for thieves, strider armor, something for the ranger, hunter, druid, linear druid. I mean, a lot of stuff. And knight armor, these are going to be heavy armor. Just to give you an idea. All of these, again, variations and different bonuses, all on the same level. Both the special ones, so marksman, dueling, and the base one, warrior armor. I think I stressed this concept enough during this conversation, but I think it's very important to understand. And yeah, I think we're done. This is just a nice recap, and again, this goes back to the goals that we had. I ran some math on just possible combination with the archetypes and everything that we could have in this core plus version of the game. Of course, this is just every possible combination. It doesn't mean that you will have 40,000 viable builds. It doesn't make sense. There will be a lot of that just don't work. But with this setup, you have more than 500 unique archetypes, and with archetypes I mean the set of skill trees that you pick and choose during character progression, excluding weapon proficiencies. So without the weapon proficiencies. If you include weapon proficiencies, you go well over 40,000 combinations. And on top of that, again, archetype is going to be the permanent progression. We might still allow some kind of respec option, but as the core element of design, let's say that this is the permanent choice that you make during your character creation and progression. And then on top of that, you can have multiple build options for each archetype with interchanging the abilities that you have at your disposal, different weapons, stuff like that, the different weapon abilities, and of course multiple armor set and weapon types to choose from. So we are pretty confident, and I think it's more than fair to say that you will be able to discover hundreds of different viable builds while playing the game, which I mean, this was one of my main goals, honestly. Character creation and thinking of different templates is one of the things that I always enjoy the most while playing MMOs. And again, I think I already said that to you. I have no idea how many hours out of a game just thinking of templates and stuff like that. Probably as much time as I spent playing the actual game, and I think it's a must for an MMO. And yeah, this was part of. I mean, it's clear that we had mistakes in our previous version. Going full horizontal progression was a massive mistake. We all agree on that. And this is something that we are trying to do in the future. And I mean, we are all very excited with this new vision, and yeah, and I hope you are as well. So
Yeah, we have a couple questions. I'm gonna throw them over to you.
yeah. So Sepp Gamestv says, I love this idea of the new types of armor. It's way more straightforward. The question is, will the armor allow or remove the ability of using specific spells like the current version of... Okay, basically you're asking if we will have spell casting restriction tied to armors. I mean, this is part of what I already said. If possible, I want to avoid restriction as much as possible. They just remove optionalities and remove the possibility of emergent gameplays and interesting stuff. So my answer is, I don't want to have those kind of restrictions unless strictly necessary. And strictly necessary is something that could be both for balancing and gameplay reasons, and from development side, if we have issues with animations and stuff like that. If we have some specific requirement in terms of animations, it sometimes can be difficult to make it work for every type of set that we have in game. And it's something that, you know, if you have this kind of issues, it could limit on the amount of content we are able to release, because again, imagine that every time you have a new armor set or a new weapon set to release, you have to go back on every animation on the game and be able to make it work for that armor set. This is an issue. Now, of course, this is also part of the initial design. What we will try to do is, for every ability that you have inside of your archetypes, we will try to not go too crazy with animation and have something that will most likely work with everything, and keep the more complex animations for the weapons. As I told you, this is one of the reasons why we put specific abilities on the weapons, because you just have to make those animations and whatever once. And once you release a weapon, you're done with it. You don't have to go back on every other asset in the game. So yeah, I think it gives you a clear idea of the direction. If I have two classes, one that uses light and one that uses medium armor, will the abilities be restricted by armor, or because I'm multi-classing I can use abilities from both regardless of which armor, light or medium, am I using? Yeah, I mean, I think this is very similar to the previous question. There will be some restriction regarding what armors are available to you based on your class. For instance, knight armors, you need to have the fighter class. Scholar clothes, you need to have the mage class. Acolyte clothes or cleric armor, you need to have the priest class. But other than that, if you go fighter mage, you can use the knight armor because you have the fighter. That's the only requirement. And ability-wise, is just what I already told you. I don't want to have restrictions unless they are strictly needed, and I don't think that they will be needed right now. So you will be able to cast your mage abilities in the knight armor. You know, the difference will be, that's the point, this will be your choice. A knight armor will have a focus on defense, both with, you know, having a better armor rating and a specific full set abilities that will focus on, you know, something related to defense or sustainability, or, you know, that's most likely what that armor set will give you. Whereas a scholar clothes will probably be more DPS based, so will increase the power of your abilities. So it's up to you. If you want to make a mage tank, you will go with a knight armor. If you want to make a how do you call it, DPS hybrid, you will go with Scholar Clothes, or probably Battle Mage Armor will be more fit for an hybrid build. But options, that's the keyword. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's there's still a few lingering questions around that we will answer in text, or we'll bunch them together for the next Q&A, but the core of the questions around today's content I think have been answered. So I appreciate you joining, Andre, and hopefully this gives a lot more clarity about some of the teases that I've had in the other live streams. And yeah, every week we're doing Q&A questions. We also respond a lot in the Discord chats as well. So, get us those questions and we'll get them answered. So thanks for joining, everyone.
Yep, it's been a blast. Thank you, everyone. And see you soon.